And I'm back. This time we're going to look at ratio proportion. We're going to solve ratio proportion problems. And you solve ratio proportion problems by cross multiplying. So that means that I'm going to take the top left, multiply it by the bottom right, set it equal to the bottom left times the top right. So I would have 1,000 times x, which would be 1,000x, and 2 times 125. So 1,000x, 2 times 125 is 250. And then this is where we have to solve for x. So then I have to always divide by what's with x. So it means I'm going to divide by 1,000. I want x to be by itself, so 1,000 divided by 1,000 is 1. And that gives me 1x. Now I can do the same thing we did when I've got a 0 on top and a 0 on bottom. I can cancel a 0 in each spot. And then I can look at this as 25 divided by 100. So I know 25 divided by 25 is 1. 100 divided by 25 is 4. And look at that, I got 1 quarter goes into 1 quarter, 4 quarters goes into $1. But my answer is still 1/4. And I'm going to do this way we solve all these. So no matter if the x is on the bottom or the x is on the top, or the x is on the left or the x is on the right, it's how I'm going to multiply them. So I'm going to do 75 times x. So I get 75x equals bottom left times top right, 1.5 times 35. Now I could have written it as 35 times 1.5. That part doesn't matter, as long as I'm multiplying those two sides, or those two corners together. Alright, so I can't do 125 times, or 1.5 times 35. So I'm going to multiply it over here on my scratch paper. So 5 times 5 is 25, carry my 2. 5 times 3 is 15, and 2 is 17. And then I've used that one, so I'm going to put a placeholder. And then 1 times 5 is 5, 1 times 3 is 3. And then add 75 is 12. Carry my 1, 3, 4, and 1 is 5, so I get 525. I got one decimal place, so I've got to move my decimal one place to the left. And so I have 52.5. So now again, I have to multiply by what's with x to get the x by itself. So I'm going to multiply both sides together, or both sides by 75. So again, I can move this decimal place one time. I can move it down on the bottom one time. That way I'm dealing with two whole numbers. 525 over 750. And then we can look at this and tell that 25 goes into them. And the way I count this is this $5.25. So I know there's 4 quarters in $1. So if I've got $5, 5 times 4 gives me 20. And then I've got a quarter here, so that's 21 quarters. And then in 750, I can look at that as $7.50. So again, 4 quarters in $1. $7 should be 7 times 4, which is 28. And I have 2 here, which would be 30. So I have 21 over 30. And those are both divisible by 3. Because 3 times 7 is 21, 3 times 10 is 30. So I have 7 over 10. And that's my value of x. So sometimes, you may have to do a little more work. And I could have just taken 52.5 and divided it by 75 and would have got the same answer. Let's look at 23, because we can do it a little bit differently. Because I can cancel my zeros first. I've got a 0 on top, a 0 on bottom that will both cancel. And so, then I can also cancel my 4 and my 10. Because 2 goes into 4 2 times, 2 goes into 10 5 times. So now I've got 2 over 5 equals x over 2. Since this is an equal sign, I can't cancel the 2's. I'm going to multiply my 2's. So top left, bottom right. So I've got 2 times 2 equals 5 times x. 2 times 2 is 4 equals 5 times x. Again, it's not always dividing on the left. It's wherever my x is. So I'm going to divide by 5 because 5 is what's with my x. It's actually 5 times x. That's the reason I'm dividing it. So 5 cancels 5. So x equals 4/5. Cross multiply, divide. It's not hard to solve proportions. Sometimes, and if I wanted to cross multiply 40 times 2, 100 times x, and then reduced, I still would have got the same answer. Okay, so let's look at 24. Still doing the same thing. So I've got x times 80, which gives me 80x. I got 160 times 2.5. So I got to go up here. I don't know. I can't do that one in my head either. So 160 times 2.5. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 6 is 30. Carry my 3. 5 times 1 is 5 and 3 is 8. So use that one. So I put a placeholder. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 6 is 12. 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1, because I carried my 1 back, gives me 3. 0, 0, 8, 9, 10. Carry my 1, that gives me 4. I have 1 decimal place. So I get 400 for my answer. So I have 80x equals, and since I did that off to the side, I'm going to make it blue divided here, equals the 400 that I got over here. Again, back to dividing by what's with x. So I'm going to divide by the 80, divide by the 80. Again, I've got 1 0 on top and 1 0 on bottom. And I have 40 divided by 8. And if you think about it, 8 times 5 gives me 40. So if I divide both by 8, I'm going to get 5. So x equals 5. So none of this is complicated. We're looking at basically the same thing and just doing it differently. Different processes, different steps. And we've done this, everybody's done this in grade school, junior high, grade school, 9th, 10th grade. You've had it at some point. Alright, so we're just remembering. So let's look at number 25. This one's a little bit different because I've got 80 over x times 60. I don't have to do the proportion yet. I'm just going to deal with the 80 over x times the 60. If I put 60 over 1, then I'm just multiplying fractions. So I can multiply straight across. 80 times 60 is 4,800. What I can do is 6 times 8 is 48, and then I got 2 zeros. And then that's over x, and it's going to equal 20 over 1. Because I did this, got that, and now I'm going to put my 20 over 1. And then back to what we've been doing on ratios, proportions, is I'm going to cross multiply. So x times 20 gives me 20x. 4,800 times 1 gives me 4,800. I'm going to divide by 20. So I get x equals, and then I can cancel my zeros. And 2 goes into 480, 240 times. And take 480 and divide by 20 here. 20 goes into 48. 2 times. So that gives me 40. And then the 8, bring down my 0. 20 goes into 84 times. Oh, I divided by 20. I canceled that 0. I knew I was doing something wrong. Try this again. So I got 480. Was this 0? And that 0 canceled. So I'm dividing it by 2. 2 goes into 4 2 times. Give me 0, so I brought down the 8. It goes into 8 4 times. It gives me 0, so if I bring down that 0, 2 goes into 0 0 times. That's where I get my 2 4. Okay, same thing I did on 25, I'm going to do on 26. I'm going to put my 12 over 1, and I'm going to multiply straight across. I'm going to scratch that. I'm going to do this one a different way, because you can do these sets a couple of different ways. Okay, I can, since this is the 40 over x times 12, I can divide both sides by this 12. So the 12 cancels the 12, and I have 1. Anything times, so I have 40 over x times 1 equals 60 over 12. So 40 over x times 1 is 40 over x equals 60 over 12. So I can, no, I can't simplify because it's equal sign. So I'm going to do 40 times 6, or x times 60 gets 60x. 40 times 12, and 60x equals 480. Divide by 60. Those 60s cancel, so x equals, these zeros cancel. So I have now 48 divided by 6. 6 times 8 gives me 48. So there's that answer. So there's 2 different ways I can do those. Okay, so that ends the ratio and proportions, and I'll be back in just a few minutes with the last part of this.